Hello and welcome. The time is now 6:31 p.m. on Thursday, August 5th, 2021, and this public hearing will now begin. My name is Donna Moy, and I will serve as the hearing officer tonight. Please note that this hearing is being recorded. This virtual public hearing is being held by the South Carolina Department of Health and Environmental Control, hereafter referred to as DHEC. The purpose of this hearing is to accept comments and supporting information on the mine operating permit application and draft air permit for the proposed Fairfield quarry. Luckstone Corporation has submitted applications to DHEC to construct and operate this granite mine at a site located in the vicinity of the intersection of SC Highway 34 and Simpson Circle in Fairfield County, approximately 3.5 miles west of Ridgeway, South Carolina. Some have chosen to attend this hearing in person at the Geiger Elementary School in Ridgeway. My colleague, Christy Ellenberg, will be assisting from this remote location. I'll ask her to introduce herself now. Christy?
Thank you, Donna. I'm sorry, I was helping with registration. So it's a pleasure to be here tonight. I'm Christy Ellenberg.
I think I might have caught her just a little off guard, but that's okay. Thank you, Christy. We also have behind-the-scenes virtual assistance from a member of our tech team tonight. I'll ask Catherine to introduce herself now.
Good evening, everyone. This is Catherine Yan.
Thank you, Catherine. This virtual aspect does sometimes have its own unique challenges, as many of you are aware if you attended our public meeting. We certainly do appreciate your patience and understanding as we work through any technical issues that may arise. Providing safe and effective opportunities for public involvement in the permitting process has remained a top priority for DHEC throughout the COVID-19 pandemic. On behalf of DHEC, it is a pleasure to be with you tonight, and we thank you for taking the time to join us. We will be doing a few things for our remote participants to help prevent distractions and ensure that everyone is heard at the appropriate time. All cameras have been turned off and all lines have been muted to minimize background noise and echoing during the presentation. After the presentation, we will unmute lines and share further instructions so that all who would like to comment tonight are able to do so. The permitting process at DHEC begins when an application is received for one or more environmental permits. During the permitting process, an applicant must show that the proposed operation can comply with state and federal regulations. These regulations were developed to ensure that human health and the environment are protected. In addition to reviewing the applications, DHEC's role is to write and, if issued, enforce permits that meet the requirements of the regulations. You also have a role in DHEC's permitting process. Your comments are important to us and may provide DHEC staff with additional things to consider when making final decisions regarding the proposed quarry. Final decisions have not yet been made and will not be made here tonight. The purpose of this hearing is for you to provide comments before final decisions are made. Comments made tonight are being recorded and will be included in a written transcript prepared by a certified court reporter. DHEC welcomes and encourages all comments made tonight, as well as those submitted in writing, through the end of the public comment period on Friday, August 20th, 2021. DHEC has created a webpage for convenient access to information about the proposed quarry. The webpage address, once again, is scdhec.gov/Luckstone Fairfield. A recording of this public hearing will be posted on the webpage prior to the end of the public comment period. If you have not already done so, I encourage each of you to go to DHEC's webpage and complete the registration form for this hearing. This will let us know how to notify you of the final decisions regarding the proposed quarry. We will now move on to our agenda and the order in which we will proceed for this hearing. An overview of the proposed quarry and DHEC's mine permitting process will be provided by Jeremy Eddy. Following Jeremy's presentation, an overview of the draft air permit and DHEC's air permitting process will be provided by Lance Davis. Following these presentations, I will begin the public comment portion by calling on those of you who indicated during pre-registration that you would like to make a comment. If you have decided that you no longer wish to speak when you are called on, you may decline at that time. I will alternate between those of you who are joining online, those of you who are joining in person, and those of you joining by phone. Once we have finished hearing from all pre-registered speakers, those who did not pre-register to speak will be given an opportunity to make their comments. At that time, I will give instructions on how to indicate that you would like to make a comment. After all comments have been heard, I will make closing remarks and this public hearing will be adjourned. In order for everyone to have a fair and equal opportunity to participate tonight, and to ensure that we proceed in a timely and effective manner, the following 4 guidelines have been established. First, there will be no questions or answers during or after a presentation or comment. Second, your comments should not go over 3 minutes each. At the end of your allotted time, you will hear this sound, and Catherine will demonstrate that now. Thank you, Catherine. I will interrupt to remind you if you do not conclude your comments at that time. If you are not able to complete your comments within the allotted time, you may still submit them in writing before the end of the public comment period. Please keep in mind that final decisions are not made based on a vote or how many people say the same thing. Third, please be respectful towards all who are presenting information or making comments here tonight. You each have a unique and valued perspective. No one comment is considered more important than another. And fourth, please do not interrupt or ask other participants to respond during your comments. Comments or actions that distract from the purpose of this hearing will not be allowed. I will now call on Jeremy Eddy to begin the DHEC presentation. Jeremy?
Thank you, Donna. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay, great. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you for showing an interest in our mine permitting process. Tonight, I'd like to go over our process with you, what we have already accomplished, where we currently are, and what we expect for the future, and then speak of the details of the mining application and the proposed reclamation plan. On March 16th, 2021, DHEC received an application from Luckstone Corporation for the proposed Fairfield I-77 quarry. At that time, we began our administrative review to make sure that we had all relevant information for our initial public notice. On April 15th, 2021, DHEC published the initial public notice by running an ad in the Voice of Fairfield County newspaper and mailing out memos to the adjacent landowners and those that owned land within a half-mile of the proposed blasting. Additionally, we sent the application package out to other federal, state, and local agencies for their comments. At this time, we began our technical review of the application package. On July 22nd, 2021, DHEC held a public meeting to provide information about the application package, which was followed by a question and answer period. Tonight, on August 5th, 2021, DHEC is holding an official public hearing. In addition to the oral comments that we will receive tonight, all subsequent written comments may be delivered to DHEC via mail or email. Contact information will be provided in another slide. We ask that those comments be received by us no later than August 20th, 2021 for consideration in our permitting process. Our technical review will continue to ensure that we address as many comments and concerns that the South Carolina Mining Act and regulations will allow. At a time to be determined, if a reason to deny the application has not been discovered, DHEC will make a permitting decision. If the permit is approved, we will include a summary response to comments, which will address the comments and concerns that we received throughout the permitting process. This will also begin the 15-day appeal period, and information on how to appeal the decision will be included. If the permit is denied, a letter of denial and reasons for such will be sent to the applicant, and they will also have an opportunity to appeal our decision. The permit boundary contains 3 tracts of land currently under a purchase agreement with Luckstone Corporation. This area is currently undeveloped and totals 416.8 acres. Interstate 77 is to the east. I-77 will be the primary avenue of transportation for any non-local haul truck deliveries and is accessed via Highway 34, approximately 1 mile from the proposed access road. An alternate mode of transportation being considered is the Norfolk Southern Rail, which should alleviate deliveries via roadway. The town of Winnsboro is approximately 5 miles as the crow flies in the northwest direction. Likewise, the town of Ridgeway is approximately 3 miles to the east of the site. Approximately 75 acres of this site have been categorized as buffer. Buffer is defined as land that will not be disturbed beyond the pre-mine natural state. This includes a minimum 50-foot perimeter buffer around the entire permit boundary, acting as a visual screen, and minimum 75-foot buffers from any stream channels or wetlands near the affected area. Again, this is area that will remain untouched by mining activities. Approximately 78 acres is categorized as future reserves and is denoted by the yellow overlay. Future reserves are defined as areas that may be affected in the future, but would first require a modification to the permit, including detailed mine and reclamation plans that must be approved by DHEC before any mining activities could commence in these areas. Additional financial assurance for reclamation must also be received by DHEC prior to any mining activities in future reserves. The applicant has indicated that these areas may become overburdened storage areas or leased as sites of future commercial development, but only if the need arises. Again, detailed plans are required to be approved by DHEC before any disturbance in these areas. Last but not least, approximately 260 acres of this site have been categorized as affected area. Affected area is defined as area of land from which overburden or minerals have been removed, or upon which overburden material has been deposited, or stockpiles and settling ponds associated with mining activities. It has been proposed that 2 areas will be used as overburden storage, shown in green. The pit, shaded in teal, will be excavated in 3 phases, with the first phase at the northernmost area, and then slowly expanded southwards into phase 2 and phase 3. The initial plant area is proposed to be situated in the pit 3 phase area, outlined in orange. When the pit expands into phase 3, the plant will be relocated to the south, shown by a purple outline, which also holds the office, scale house, and maintenance areas. The proposed mining process will require the installation of best management practices, or BMPs. These will allow the operator to prevent or minimize off-site impacts. BMPs cover a wide array of activities and include, but are not limited to, the installation of silt fencing, brush barriers, or check dams to control sediment transport, retaining or enhancing vegetation, and the use of water trucks or dust suppressants to minimize dust generation, and the installation of stormwater basins to better manage the site's water balance. The operator is required to perform reclamation activities concurrently with mining as feasible. When the mine reaches its end of life, the operator is required to perform final reclamation activities. Reclamation is the process to restore the affected land to a useful purpose while protecting the natural resources of the surrounding area. The applicant has indicated in their reclamation plan that the site will be reclaimed as a pond or lake and grasslands. The land will be sloped on a 3 horizontal to 1 vertical gradient as soon as feasible, and stockpiled topsoil will be spread out on the top and sides. This will be used to revegetate these areas. The pond or lake shall also meet our minimum reclamation standards detailed in Regulation 89-330. Financial assurance from the operator is required to ensure that reclamation will be completed. This is a financial mechanism, such as a surety bond or letter of credit, that will cover the cost of reclamation should the operator not meet reclamation standards. In this hypothetical scenario, this financial mechanism will be forfeited and DHEC will use the money to complete reclamation activities. To reiterate our next steps, DHEC's comment period will be open until August 20th, 2021 to accept written comments, and we will consider these comments in order to continue our technical review of this permit application. At the conclusion of that technical review, when all comments have been considered, DHEC will make a final permitting decision and provide notification and a summary response to comments to everyone on our mailing list. Whether the application is approved or denied, this decision will begin a 15-day appeal period, and instructions on how to appeal our decision will be included. Again, thank you for your time tonight, and I look forward to hearing your comments. Next, we have Lance Davis from the Bureau of Air Quality to speak about the air synthetic construction permit. Lance?
Good evening. My name is Lance Davis, and I work with the Bureau of Air Quality at the South Carolina Department of Health and Environmental Control. I'm the air permit writer assigned to the Luckstone Fairfield project, and I'll be giving an overview of the draft air construction permit. An air construction permit allows a facility to construct and start operation of the proposed equipment detailed in the air permit application. The proposed facility is required to obtain an air permit primarily due to the amount of particulate matter, or PM, emitted, including fine particulate matter less than 10 and 2.5 microns, known respectively as PM10 and PM2.5. Particulate matter, or dust in this case, may be a mixture of solid particles and liquid droplets found in the air. Luckstone submitted an air construction permit application on April 14, 2021 for a new granite quarry and processing plant. The quarry and processing plant include crushers, screeners, and conveyors. In addition to the process equipment, dust will be generated by unpaved roads and storage piles. Luckstone has applied to receive a synthetic minor construction permit requiring their emissions to stay below major source thresholds for PM and PM10. To remain below major source thresholds, as defined by the EPA, the facility is requesting federally enforceable limits of less than 100 ton per year of PM10 and less than 250 ton per year of PM. State and federal regulations have established standards that are protective of the environment and public health, including the health of sensitive populations such as asthmatics, children, and the elderly. The draft air construction permit includes all relevant state and federal air regulations. The proposed facility would have particulate matter and opacity limits. Opacity is the amount of visible particulate you can see. The lower the opacity, the lower the visibility of particulate matter. The facility-wide opacity limit for the proposed location would be 20%. The opacity limit for the crushers is 12% and 7% for the screens and conveyors. The facility would be required to perform initial performance tests on the processing equipment to demonstrate compliance with these opacity limits. As part of the air permitting process, the facility is also required to demonstrate compliance with National Ambient Air Quality Standards for PM10 and PM2.5. The compliance demonstration with the standards was completed using an EPA-approved model, assuming the facility was operating all of its equipment at full capacity 24 hours per day, every day of the year. Based on the compliance demonstrated conducted for Luckstone, the facility meets the standards. The draft air construction permit also requires that the facility minimize and control its fugitive dust emissions. The facility must develop, submit, and receive department approval of their dust control suppression plan. The primary proposed method of dust control is wet suppression. The proposed process equipment would be equipped with wet suppression in the form of water sprays to control dust, while the dust from the roads and storage piles would be controlled by wet suppression in the form of water trucks. The draft air permit and statement of basis is available to review on the Luckstone Fairfield I-77 project webpage. Any questions or comments on the draft air permit or statement of basis will be accepted until August 20th, 2021. Thank you.
Thank you, Jeremy and Lance. As we transition into the comment portion of this public hearing, I would like to reiterate that DHEC staff are here to listen to your comments about the proposed quarry. Answers or responses to questions will not be provided tonight. All comments made during this hearing are being recorded, and if you are unable to complete your comments within the allotted time, you may submit them in writing through the end of the public comment period once again on Friday, August 20th, 2021. I will now begin calling on those of you who indicated during pre-registration that you would like to make a comment. I will alternate between those of you who are joining online, those of you who are joining in person at Giger Elementary School, and those of you who are joining by phone. For those of you joining in person, Christy will assist with getting you to the microphone when it is your turn to speak. After I call your name, you may begin your comments. Please state and spell your name for the court reporter prior to speaking. And we will begin with Representative Annie McDaniel, who I believe is in person there at the school. We'll give Representative McDaniel a moment to get to the microphone.
You're all set.
First, let me say good evening to everyone. I didn't expect to be the first one to speak since I came in kind of late, but the Bible say always be ready, so I'm ready. The time limit 3 minutes, right? Okay. I just want to first let the persons here who are really interested in hearing and knowing what's going on with the mine coming to our county that it is greatly appreciated that you are stepping out, because oftentimes we don't let our voices be heard until after things happen, and it's so much harder to change anything that's put in place prior to. And I've been working very diligently with DHEC because I am very concerned, not just about this mine, but any industry that comes into our county that could disrupt our environment, that could disrupt our individuals' properties, our communities, and that could leave lifelong damage. So I'm here mostly to let you know that I do care, and that I am concerned, and that I am working with you with DHEC. And we've noted a number of things that need to happen in the future that did not happen, as far as notification and some of the other things that needed to occur before this came to our community. But I just want to be on record that I am requesting that color copies of this presentation be available to anybody who wants color copies. So when you review it, if you need the visual, you're able to look at the greenery and the other different pictorial items without struggling trying to look at it black and white. That the number of years that the permit is being requested for is reduced. That in the future, when we have mines or any other public hearings, that we allow citizens to hear from whoever is moving in this case, Luckstone, and that the citizens have a time to absorb and digest all of the information, hear all of the questions, and then have the public hearing. Because I was of the understanding that this was going to be just a public hearing and all the other information had already been provided. But once arriving here, that was not the case. I'm sure you're aware of Chester have a similar situation with the mine going there. And I have expressed the concern because I also represent part of Chester with that process and the ball being dropped, that particular one is actually to be located near a school. So we're working on trying to get something in place where that is not a future problem. But what concerned me when I had the meeting this morning is a lot of what we talked about was futuristic and not the here and now. So I do look forward to hearing what you all have to say, who've taken the time out of your schedules to come out, so that I can further do what I can in my respective position to work for you in your favor. And with that, again, I thank you all, and I'm elated that you came out to express yourselves. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Representative McDaniel. We certainly do appreciate you being with us tonight. Next, I will call on Kevin McKinney, who I believe is joining us virtually. Mr. McKinney, you can unmute your mic to begin speaking. Kevin McKinney. If you're having trouble joining us, Mr. McKinney, I will remind you that you can also call in by phone. That number has been provided to you in the email that was sent earlier this week. So we are going to move on right now because we have a lot of people who are interested in speaking tonight, but we will come back to you. Now I'll call on Greenville Siebels, who I believe is there in person. Christy?
Donna, Mr. Siebel says he's going to decline his opportunity to speak. Thank you, Dave.
Okay, thank you so much. Please let the record reflect that Mr. Greenville Siebels does not wish to comment at this time. Next, I will call on Morris Lyles.
Andy, all right. Good evening. My name is Morris Lyles, and my father, my brothers, and I are co-owners of the property that crosses Highway 34 and is adjacent to the project that Luckstone is proposing on Highway 34. Our property is in the name of Lyles Brothers LLC. I'm speaking tonight to go on the record again in our opposition to this project, and also to go on the record that no one has adequately answered our question as to what happens should the mine start to impact drinking water. My father's well is about 1,600 feet from the mine pit. What happens should the water level drop in our ponds that are on our property? One that's right below his home, and then the pond level on my uncle's property, which is right to the north of the Luckstone property. I think it's fair enough that we have a conversation with someone that can answer more than they will bring water in or will dig a new well. In my experience as a real estate broker, you can't just snap your fingers and dig a new well, nor can you run a water line very quickly, nor can you shower very easily using bottled water. DHEC, I'm looking to both you as the permit giver for this 100-year project for answers, as well as Luckstone as the operator that intends to operate this mine. I would also like to go on the record as stating my niece, who has suffered from asthma. We've got concerns concerning the particulates in the air, the increased level of that, and her ability to enjoy the land and use and enjoy the land. I also have concerns with the height of the runoff barriers that are intended to protect Dutchman's Creek. And those that were here in 2015, remember we got about 20 inches of rain in a 48-hour period. What assurances can be given that the dams will hold and don't burst and flood the creek and our property and Dutchman's Creek? My last concern is, how is this project going to impact the value of our property? For the next 100 years, we'll have a neighbor that nobody really wants to be next to. And overall, how will this impact our timber farm operations on our property moving forward? So we'd love to get some answers for that. Thank you.
Go Morris.
Thank you so much, Mr. Lyles. And thank you to our four-legged friend who is joining us tonight, wherever it may be. Next, I would like to call on Lynn Crane. Lynn Crane.
Ms. Crane is also here, Donna.
I'm Lynn Crane, and I live on Barber Road. I had signed up to speak, and decided I wasn't going to until Annie McDaniel said something that kind of threw me here. She was talking about receiving information in the mail about this project. The way I heard about this project, and I live on Barber Road and own almost 800 acres of land. So I know that my name is on some tax records that people would know to get my address. The way I heard about it was a man, he may be here and I don't know him, Will Harris. He put a note in my mailbox about this and said he would like to speak to us. That is the only way I heard about this project. So I think that's important, and Ms. McDaniel, I'm glad that you mentioned that. Also, the part about the colored maps, I sat here and scribbled what areas were going to be what on that map. So, you know, we really need to know. Part of my land does come near that, but I do live on that road. There are 4 houses on that road. We have wells that were drilled 600, 700 feet. I'm concerned about the water being depleted. And also we have 2 ponds, one of which is spring fed. Both of them have fish in them. Along with the other health problems, but I think my main concern is the water. And again, as Mara said, the property values. When you own that much land, you know, you expect to sell it or leave it to your children. Is anybody going to want it being that close to it? Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Crane. And I did want to follow up because you mentioned the handout, and Representative McDaniel did as well. To assure anyone that would like a color copy, we will be more than happy to provide that. If you are in person there, if you'll let Christy know before you leave where we can send that to, we'll be glad to do that. If you're joining us virtually, the presentation is posted on our webpage, but if you would also like a color copy, please just get in touch with us and let us know that, and we'll be glad to provide that to you. So moving on now, I would like to call on Lauren McGill Milton with the South Carolina Environmental Law Project. I believe she's there in person, Christy.
No, Donna, it looks like she's making her way to the front.
Okay, we will give her just a moment. That looks like
We've got a big room and a very full crowd tonight.
We sure do.
thank
Hi, y'all.
you.
My name is Lauren McGill Milton, attorney with South Carolina Environmental Law. Oh, yeah. Sorry. I'm an attorney with South Carolina Environmental Law Project. If you guys have been here at the last public meeting or the one at Ridgeway, you've probably seen me already. I've spent the last few months looking over this proposal and coming up here, and I've gotten to know so many of y'all up here in Fairfield County. This might seem like a little bit of a backstory, but it all ties in, I promise. But one of the things that I've noticed is when y'all are telling me the concerns that you have about this quarry, you're not only telling me your concerns for yourselves and for your families, you're telling me your concerns for your neighbors, for the folks you know who live up the road, down the road, upstream, downstream. Nearby property owners are worried about the ones that are adjacent homeowners. This is a community of people who are good neighbors, who look out for their neighbors. And I like that. And I understand that with this proposal, Luckstone wants to be your neighbor. I have concerns, deep concerns about this project I've shared with DHEC. I hope they listen to those, and I hope they listen to all of your concerns about the project also. But more than that, because DHEC knows what I have to say about the project, I want Luckstone to hear me tonight. And what I have to say is, if you want to come to this community, you need to commit to being the kind of neighbor to them that they are to one another. And what that means is transparency. It means sharing the information that you have. It means making promises and keeping them. One of the biggest concerns that I've had and still have about this is water quality. We need more answers on water quality. You guys need to feel secure in it. There's a lot of impacts here that are all cumulative over the next 100 years. We need some answers. On that point, what I would like to ask Luck to do to fit into this community, a community that looks like this and looks out for their neighbors, commit to transparency, listen to the suggestions of the community, make DHEC's job easier right now by committing to perform routine hydrology tests and posting the results for the community so that they feel secure. Commit to replacing the wells of people who feel like their well might be impacted. We also share the concerns of the community on dust. We would like to see Luck do formal dust monitoring, mitigation, install some air monitors. Rock crushing operations in quarries are dusty business. That's what all the water is needed for. But monitor, post those results for the community. Transparency, share the information that you have. And the other thing that I would like to see you do is a citizen panel board so that everybody can share their discussions, talk about this, and it's monitored on an ongoing basis. That's what I'd like to see from Luck. DHEC, thank you for your time in setting up this.
Thank you so much, Ms. Milton. And I do remember you from the public meeting, so thank you for coming back to join us for the public hearing as well. Okay, I want to go to someone who I believe is joining us by phone, Susan Randall. Ms. Randall, you can *6 to unmute your phone.
Can I speak to you virtually? Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Thank you. Please go ahead.
Okay, I'm online, but I'm not on phone. As the owner of 2 pieces of land next to the Luck Company project, I will be directly impacted by the quarry mining industry. If you got the map that everyone has, the green map with the orange inlay, I am just north of phase 1 and I am just east of phase 1 next to the cranes. My property backs up to phase 1. Phase 1 is to be the blasting pit of the quarry. It's where the noise and the sound and the air quality needs to be monitored. It needs to be reported to the property owners on a regular basis. I agree with Lauren. We need to have postings, public postings in the newspaper, at the post office, wherever you can put it out all over Fairfield County so that everyone is aware of when the blasting starts and when the blasting stops. If I were to build a house on my land, I might not be able to breathe the air, as I am an asthmatic and have been one all of my life. The dust would kill me. The noise level must be restricted to certain hours, and we must be informed of the schedule. The next phase is phase 2, directly below phase 1. That's where the plant would be. The wetlands, I'm sorry, it's directly across. It's the wetlands area. This is another permit. And as my land contains a stream and it is directly north of the wetland, I need to find out if the sediments are monitored and fill materials which might affect the water quality. We need to know about this. We want the buffers to be raised at least 30 feet to protect the health of all bodies of water and streams. These buffers must be at least 100 feet wide around the streams and any other bodies of water, such as their ponds. My brother, my cousin, many of us have ponds on our land. We must have buffers of 100 feet wide around these. The South Carolina Department of Natural Resources wrote on May the 14th to Mr. Eddy that after inspecting our property, he saw that there was a need for silt pits or silt barriers which should be installed prior to any activity of this mining process. This is to protect the waterway. It also said that land clearing should not begin until the sediment has been established, the sediment basin. As I'm running out of time, I will cut quickly to the last part of this, which I believe has been said, but I think it's very important. And I also wanted to say to Annie, thank you for eliminating the 100 years and cutting back. They should go back for permitting in a 50-year or 20-year basis, not 100 years. Can Luckstone Quarry guarantee they will follow our recommendations? And if not, then who are we to call? We want this business to be held accountable. We want this project to be transparent. And we want this process to be responsibly monitored. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Randall. Thank you so much. Now I would like to call on Pelham Lyles, who I believe is there at the school.
Donna, she's coming to the microphone now.
Okay.
Hi. Thank you for allowing me up here. As a local historian, I've been concerned about archaeological sites and the historic structures, but also I see that the Blair Vaughan Stagecoach House has been included now for monitoring for seismic conditions, what could happen to the foundation. There will be a pre-blast survey done on that house so that ensuing cracks in the foundation or anything else can be attributed to whatever. And I appreciate that, but I think there are a lot of houses that may be slightly out of that distance that's with the first pit. Now, there are 2 other pits that will be planned in the future. And will there be separate permits on that kind of thing? There'll be houses that will be affected by those. There are houses that are just outside that distance that's required to protect them. But I'm glad that you are doing a study, because that's a National Register house that I helped to do the restoration on, and I'm glad to see it will be protected in that way, and hopefully their well will be protected also. But I would like to see that other houses will be included in this, and that this will be done previous to each developing stage of the development of the quarry. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Lyles. Would now like to call on Brandon Jones on behalf of the Catawba Riverkeeper Foundation. Mr. Jones, I'm not sure.
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes, you're virtual. Okay, thank you very much. Please go ahead. Oh, and
Great.
I also forgot, please remember to state your name and spell it for the court reporter.
Certainly.
Thank you.
My name is Brandon Jones, BARNDONJONES. I'm the Catawba Riverkeeper at the Catawba Riverkeeper Foundation. Thank you all for the opportunity to comment on this proposed mining permit, and I definitely appreciate the hybrid format. The Catawba Riverkeeper Foundation is a member-funded environmental nonprofit who educates and advocates for the protection of the Catawba Waterway River and all its tributaries. Organization represents over 6,000 active members across 26 counties and 2 states who rely on the watershed for drinking water, recreation, and electricity. This site is located at the headwaters of Dutchman's Creek, a tributary of the Catawba and Lake Wateree. Streams on the site were identified as impaired for fecal bacteria back in 2003, and then a TMDL, or total maximum daily load, was published in 2011 by DHEC. Since then, unfortunately, the creek has not improved to meet recreational standards. Samples taken at the nearest downstream site, about 4 miles away, this site was established back in 2019, showed averages over the recreational criteria and will most likely be listed as impaired during the next cycle. While hopefully the mine is not a source of bacteria, unless they have a failing septic system, they will most likely increase turbidity, both from the discharge and from the runoff. That increase in turbidity can slow the natural degradation of harmful bacteria from UV radiation. And the site makes up about 12% of the TMDL watershed, which would definitely increase the total impervious area and runoff within that area, within that site. Dutchman's Creek, which begins on the site, is also a tributary of Lake Wateree. The lake is currently facing water quality challenges, primarily due to changes in land use and development. The cove of Dutchman's Creek, where it meets Lake Wateree, is listed as impaired for pH, chlorophyll A, and phosphorus. However, should DHEC decide to permit this, we would certainly recommend enhanced mitigation measures. We would echo SCDNR with a 100-foot buffer as opposed to the 75, increased monitoring wells, and also special attention to the fish species of conservation concern within Dutchman's Creek. A good way to address that and the turbidity issues would be to alter the proposed discharge limit. Downstream monitoring reveals an average turbidity in Dutchman's Creek of about 20 NTUs. And so we would recommend that be used as the proposed maximum discharge for turbidity on their wastewater discharge. For the stormwater basin, we recommend going above state minimums to at least size for the 25-year storm. We'd also recommend using stormwater catchments designed for phosphorus reduction, given the nature of the phosphorus and algal blooms in the receiving stream down about 11 miles downstream at Lake Wateree. We're also very concerned with impacts to the drinking water. As mentioned in the public meeting, we recommend that no storage of hazardous materials or washouts be used within that public water well protection zone, particularly underground storage tanks, any kind of gasoline or diesel fuels. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Jones. Next, I'm going to call on Virginia Pierce, who I believe is there in person. Christy, I believe that you have a Miss Pierce there. I see her coming down the aisle now. I would remind you, Ms. Pierce, to please state your name and spell it for the court reporter.
Virginia Pierce, Virginia like the state. And
Louder.
Yes,
And
ma'am.
the microphone, please.
So again, the microphone is actually helping us connect into the virtual meeting, so we need to, we're more than 6 feet apart from the speaker.
Is this it
Just
right
make sure we have to use a really loud voice, Ms. Pierce.
is this the microphone?
It works for the virtual meeting, but just, we need to be able to kind of yell through the film. Thank you.
Virginia Pierce, VIRGINIAPIERCE. I forgot what the second part was, but
Just speak as loudly as you can.
it's as loud as I can go, I think. So, I live in a National Register historic house, and a lot of the literature, there's some follow-up literature with the cultural resources reports and that sort of thing. And everything says I'm more than a half a mile from any impact areas. And when I'm trying to measure the maps that were provided in this PowerPoint slide and the reports, what I could see is I'm up to 2,100 feet on the western boundary, and that's where the future impact area is, which I appreciate the explanation today that they would have to do another permit. There's so many. This is just one of my concerns about our historic home. We think it's 200 years old now. By the time they get to this area, it could be 250 to 300 if it survives that long. And if you're not trying to protect something that's really unique and valuable in our county, you know, what are we going to protect? So it's a really interesting place. I invite you to come by and see it. And there's light pollution that are concerns. I don't want 24-hour light pollution. We see stars. It's really beautiful out where we live. And all down the line, everybody's done a great job of air quality, our wells, all of that sort of thing. So I'm concerned with, I appreciate everybody else's input because I'm concerned with everything everybody else has said. And I really appreciate Representative McDaniel and how you heard our concerns and showed up here tonight. Thanks.
Thank you, Ms. Pierce. And next, I would like to call on someone who I believe is calling in tonight, and I don't want to butcher the name, but it's Carol Aguilar. Ms. Aguilar, if you are joining us by phone, you can *6 to unmute your line. Okay, we will come back to Ms. Aguilar in case she's having trouble connecting with us. Now we'll go to John Lyles, who I believe is joining us virtually.
Yes, John Lyles, JOHNLYLES. I'm the landowner to the west. My border was right against where the pit, phase 1 pit is. And most of my concerns continue to be about groundwater, mostly groundwater quantity and what's going to happen in the future. Because based on what has been issued by Luckstone and their S&ME company that did their work, for Chester was 100,000 gallons a day being used up to 12 and a half years until they could get enough makeup water from the dewatering in the pit itself. And I assume there's a way they're going to get that water. It was explained in the last meeting that it would be due to rain and collection like that, but actually they're going to need a lot of water according to what they're writing in the other quarry reports. So I'm curious how they're going to get that water, and if it is going to be a well, none of that has been in any of the documents in this application. There's nothing about their well, the production well, makeup water well. One of the reasons I'm concerned is that I have a pond that's 900 feet from the pit, and that pond is not going to last. It just has a shallow aquifer fed from seeps and springs. Those are going to dry up when that pit's going, and also during that drawdown, possibly just from the production, the makeup well. In addition to that, another concern is for the Ridgeway water well. It's only 2,100 and some odd feet. I can't remember what I measured, but from the future area. It is 3,200 feet from the pit, but the actual edge of the Ridgeway well protection zone overlaps into that future area. So that's a concern for that. And I was looking at the new hydrological report that came out, the groundwater modeling report that came out July 19th. And that was really focused on Ridgeway's concerns. As a matter of fact, it only talks about the drawdown of water for the Ridgeway well, about it being 15 feet in the 40 years. However, it doesn't address any of the adjacent landowners' wells. For instance, Willie Qualls well, which is just Willie Qualls, Qualls, is just to the east of the quarry land, and he's predicted to have a 50-foot drawdown of water in his well in 40 years. And my sister Josephine, who's also going to maybe comment, she has got a well on the northwest corner, and it's going to have a 100-foot drawdown in 40 years. Well, that's the depth of her well. So that one's definitely a goner. And so I'm concerned that these drawdown predictions aren't talking to any of the landowners. We're only addressing Ridgeway, and yet the landowners' wells are going to dry up based on these models. But the model isn't complete. It's missing calibration wells. There's no measurements that were done to produce water and actually accurately calibrate their model. The model, I'll quickly finish this. The model was based on Chester and Enoree, South Carolina models. And because it's lacking that, I would like to see Luck, or rather DHEC, to delay the approval of this application until that well is drilled and they have an accurate drawdown measurement, or at least a drawdown model based on real pumping in that area. So thank you for the chance to speak.
Thank you so much, Mr. Lyles. Next, I will call on Robert Siebels, who I believe is there in person with you, Christy.
That's done. Mr. Siebels is coming up now.
Okay. Remind Mr. Siebels to please spell your name for the court reporter.
Will do. My name's Robert Siebels, That's ROBERTSEIBELS. We're going to have a little redundancy here, folks, because I'm going to talk about water too. I'm president of Vinsboro Timber Farm, LLC. It's a family-owned 326-acre tract that lies just west of Barber Road, adjacent to and behind the National Historic Register House known as the Stagecoach House. We just heard about it. Our property, which extends eastward towards Simpson, past the railroad crossing at Jewel Drive, includes a home on Merlin Drive, which is actually our driveway, 3 water wells, all shallow wells, and a pond. My brother, sister, and I are very troubled by the threat posed to our water resources from the proposed Luckstone Quarry. Created in 1980, our 2-acre spring-fed pond and one of our wells are less than 6,000 feet from the pit of the proposed Phase 1 mine site and only 3,000 feet from the future impact area. The springs that feed our pond have run continuously for the past 40+ years, even in severe drought, providing a constant water level in the pond. Although they have apparently not confirmed the source, Luckstone estimates that they will use 100,000 gallons of water per day for the first 12 years of operation. That is far more water than the towns of Winsboro, Ridgeway, and all the private wells in the vicinity collectively use in a day. It's a lot of water. There's only one source for that water: new wells that Luck intends to drill on the mine site. Despite their assurances, how do we know that withdrawing that unprecedented amount of water for more than a decade will not adversely affect our pond and wells? We've been promised an intense, transparent, and responsive monitoring program. Even if that becomes a reality, we would like to know how Luckstone or DHEC is going to revive a spring-fed pond with no spring. Once Luckstone receives their permit to operate for 100 years, I can't get my head around how many years that is, and I don't think anybody out there can either. We believe our concerns will be swept under the rug forever. The next 4 generations of surrounding landowners will be powerless to prevent Luckstone from doing whatever they please behind their berms. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Steebles. It did look to me like maybe you were reading your comments. Please feel free to leave those with the court reporter before you leave tonight, and she will make sure that is included with the transcript of the hearing. We have you recorded, but if you wanted to leave that hard copy to assist her with the transcription, we encourage you to do so. Next, I would like to call on James Kilgo, who I believe is joining us by phone or online.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Thank you so much. Please remember to spell your name for the court reporter and go ahead.
Yes, certainly. It's James Kilgo, Jameskilgo. I am with the South Carolina Rural Water Association. I am the Source Water Protection Specialist for SCRWA, and I am tasked with working with rural water utilities to ensure the safe and effective distribution of water, especially as it concerns potential contamination. So this is certainly something that I heard off secondhand from someone, and am very interested to know a couple of different things. Was there a environmental assessment completed for this particular property? I was able to review the data and info provided by SNME. And would this data and the conclusions found stand up against an environmental assessment in comparison? I am also conducting a watershed-based plan through EPA 319 and Drinking Water State Revolving Fund through SCDHEC, and for the Lake Watery watersheds. And am particularly interested and concerned about Dutchman's Creek exposure to this. And I would suggest that Lux Stone, if approved for this, become a committed partner for the Lake Watery watershed-based plan, for which I am the lead partner on this with a number of other committed stakeholders within the area. And as everybody as a number of folks have mentioned, Lake Watery is currently experiencing significant water quality issues as is, impairments and so forth, facing a TMDL as well. And I think with the addition of a mine, this certainly serves to exacerbate maybe some of the issues that we have, especially in the context of the increased frequency of extreme weather events, whether they be 100-year floods or even 1,000-year floods. So that's all I've got. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kilgo. And thank you for the birds in the background. That's a nice added touch that we don't normally have. Okay, now I would like to call on, I believe there's a couple there in person, Jim and Eleanor Parrish. Christy, I'm not sure if one or both of them wanted to speak.
You sign me up too. You sign me up too.
Okay, let's take one moment, Donna.
What?
The names that have pre-registered.
Those two people signed up. You should sign me up too.
Getting some feedback from some who are unmuting. We're taking note of those who also were kind of raising their hand, and we're going to also have kind of that open call for others who didn't pre-register to speak. Is that a good summary, Donna?
Yes, that is correct. Thank you, Christy.
Okay. Ms. Parrish?
Yes. My name is Eleanor Thomas Parrish, and I grew up in Ridgeway. My parents were Laura and Bob Thomas, and they were both mayors of Ridgeway. Ridgeway was a great place to grow up. I'm also concerned with some of the things that you are concerned with, those with the air quality, the water, the Ridgeway well, and hearing all of you that are living in that vicinity about your wells also. We also have, my father's family goes way back to the 1800s. And Dr. John Pierre Thomas moved to Fairfield County in the 1800s from Charleston to escape malaria. He wanted to bring his family to a healthy environment, so he settled in Fairfield and near Ridgeway. He built Mount Hope Plantation, which is not too far from this site. And again, he wanted a healthy environment for his family. One of the sons ended up starting Isaac Catria Thomas started the Thomas Company in Ridgeway. But again, Ridgeway was a wonderful place to grow up. We still have some property that is near the mining site, and we're concerned with that. Of course, there are 240 acres there, and we're concerned about the devaluation of the property and also water and air quality. And of course, we're concerned, we do not own Mount Hope anymore, but we're concerned about that historical building house also, and with the blasting and in that area. But anyway, thank you. We did not get to the other meetings, but thank you for letting us speak. And as I said, it was a wonderful place to grow up, and we just want Ridgeway to continue the way it is. I grew up with a town well and a water tank, and so I know the importance of water to Ridgeway and to our neighbors. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Parrish. Did Mr. Parrish also wish to speak?
He's deferring.
Okay. Just wanted to make sure that we didn't ignore the other half of that team there. So thank you.
Donna, can I add one more note? We
Yes.
have had some people speak who haven't spelled their name. We do have those forms for people who registered when they were coming in and some who registered online. So I think those we've heard from thus far, we do have a spelling of your name, so rest assured, we can help match that up with the court reporter as well. Okay, Donna, thank you.
Thank you, Christy. And we also have a few people who have joined us and who have raised their hand or tried to unmute to speak. Please note that right now we are hearing from those who pre-registered to speak via our webpage or who had indicated in person that they plan to speak tonight. And we will get to those who are raising their hands now just shortly. So we have 2 more people who have pre-registered. And so now I will call on Pamela Greenlaw. I believe Ms. Greenlaw is there in person, and we'll give her a moment to get to the microphone.
Donna, Ms. Greenlaw has asked if you can come back to her a little later in the night. So let's keep going for now, okay?
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Next, we have Cal Harrison. I believe Mr. Harrison is there in person.
Donna, just sign the way in.
Thank you. I'm Cal Harrison from Ridgeway, South Carolina, CALHARRISON. I wanted to stand in opposition to this permit. And what I wanted to talk to you today, I think really, I hope DHEC, everyone at DHEC will take this to heart, that I think that you have a credibility issue that needs to be addressed. I attended the last meeting. It was very civil, but my impression leaving that meeting was that DHEC seemed like a PR agency rather than a regulatory agency for this mining company. And I don't have much time. Years ago, I used to be a reporter, worked with a guy named Russ Shearer, who was chief of the Bureau of Water Pollution Control. He was a very trustworthy fellow. Whenever I interviewed him, he would always provide caveats. You know, he would say, yes, these are the regulations. Yes, this is how it should be, but no, we can't guarantee. You know, it's not a perfect world. We can't guarantee how a computer model will actually act in the real world. And I really respected that. But what I heard at this last meeting were statements like that there will be no impact on Dutchman Creek for 100 years. I don't understand how anyone can credibly make a statement like that. Secondly, there were examples given of other mines in the state and how well run they are and how we shouldn't be concerned because they're great examples. I didn't hear a single example of a mine that's sitting right next to a community well water supply and right next to a creek that runs into a lake that we know and have heard from many experts is being impacted. Lastly, and this is, I think, most concerning, as I learned after that meeting, a representative of the company spoke to a town official with Ridgeway and offered to take out an insurance policy on their well in case something happened. And to me, that means that they themselves don't really have the faith in this process. And so they're basically trying to cover themselves. And by doing that, I think they're really basically selling DHEC out because they themselves don't have the confidence that they can protect the environment. I called on the advice of Rob Devlin from DHEC. I called the South Carolina Rural Water Authority. I talked to James Kilgo, who just spoke. I asked him the same questions. Is there a potential for impact on Dutchman's Creek? He said, of course there is. Is there a potential for the mining activity to pollute the well water? Of course there is. I just want to point out that that DHEC had a credibility problem back in the 1990s through the Pinewood hazardous waste dump and Sumter. What was determined through that, and DHEC finally admitted that there needed to be location standards for those such facilities. That, as far as I can tell, there are no location standards. There should be. This could have been addressed before it actually came to this point, because there are serious environmental things in question. So before you make a decision, I think that you should address adopting location standards for new mines, including this one. I think that Mr. Kilgo's watershed basin study should be completed so that we can draw some conclusions about how to protect Lake Wateree. And thirdly, we need some source water protection legislation in the hands of DHEC, because it was pointed out that there are no local controls over source water protection. That's because everyone expects DHEC should have the authority and should be enforcing those controls, not local governments. No one would expect that they would have to protect that everyone thinks that that's DHEC's responsibility. So I just think that, yes, I'm finishing up. That I would appreciate it if you would investigate all three of these things that I've mentioned. And the easiest way, I think, to restore your credibility, though, would be just to deny this permit.
Thank you so much. Just want to make sure that we're giving everyone a fair opportunity to make their comments tonight. We have a lot of people who are interested and we want to hear their comments. So thank you so much for that, Mr. Harrison. I would like to go back for a moment to Mr. McKinney to make sure if he has joined us, if he's able to unmute his line or join us virtually. Kevin McKinney. Please let the record reflect that Mr. McKinney is not on the meeting tonight or the hearing tonight. And I would also like to go back to Carol Aguilar, who I believe is also joining us virtually or had planned to. Ms. Aguilar, if you are with us, you can unmute your line to speak. Please let the record reflect that Ms. Aguilar also is not in attendance tonight. So that concludes everyone who pre-registered to make a comment. We will now begin hearing from those of you who did not pre-register to speak but have decided to make a comment. For those of you joining in person, please raise your hand to indicate that you would like to make a comment, and Christy will assist with getting you to the microphone at the appropriate time. For those of you joining online, please let us know you would like to comment by raising your hand using the hand icon or the microphone icon on your screen. For those of you joining by phone, simply press *6 on your phone. After Catherine has noted who is raising a hand or unmuting virtually, your hand will be lowered and you may be muted again to reduce background noise until you are called on to comment. When it is your turn, I will call on you by either your name or the last 4 digits of the phone number you're calling from. I'll give Catherine a moment now to note those who are attending virtually and indicating they would like to comment. And I would like to reiterate that DHEC staff are here to listen to your comments about the proposed Fairfield quarry. Answers or responses to questions will not be provided tonight. All comments made during this hearing are being recorded. And if you are unable to complete your comments within the allotted time, you may still submit them in writing through the end of the public comment period on Friday, August 20th of 2021. We will now begin calling on those of you who have decided to make a comment. And first up, I have Josephine Lyles. Ms. Lyles, I believe you're joining us online.
Yes. My name
Thank
is
you.
Josephine, Josephine, last name Lyles. I am a landowner on Barber Road in Fairfield County. I do have a tenant house, and the well is within a half-a-mile boundary around the proposed pit, so it's likely to be the first lowered water table if this happens. My well is 1,750 feet from the edge of the pit. I looked at some of Lockstone's reports and maps, and first of all, they had mislocated my map where my well was. So I pointed that out in my report to DHEC. Should this occur, which hopefully doesn't, I would like to have a monthly monitoring report. And if there's any drop in the water in their deep well, which is near my property, my well, I would like to have a monthly monitoring report, and I would like to know how soon they can help my current tenant out. Should his well go dry? Are they going to bring it in? Is it emergency? And will they replace my well? That's what I have to say.
Thank you so much, Ms. Lyles. Next, I would like to go back to the school and call on Pamela Greenlaw.
Okay. Hello, my name is Pamela Greenlaw, PAMELA GREENLAW. I'm going to reiterate a little bit, but I might be a little more colorful. A lot of the things that I'm noting in this permit that DHEC really does need to focus on is that there aren't, we see in the illustrations that there are monitors, wells for monitoring. We don't see any location of air monitors. DHEC should require those, and DHEC should collect all that information, because if a facility concentration rises above the national ambient air quality standard off-site, that has to be captured. That's going to affect people's health. I challenge model assumptions without DHEC's installed monitors and a track record developed. The predicted facility concentration predicted, we don't know what that's based on. It seems to be plucked, I'm sorry to say it, out of the air. As far as the concerns of the community that air and water are going to be affected, this appears to me to be a taking of property, taking people's ability to have clean water, clean air. There's no fugitive, I already talked about that. I oppose this mine on many of the grounds that Mr. Harrison brought up, and I concur with the suggestions that I've heard this evening from everybody about what DHEC needs to require. Certainly a 100-year permit. I don't know, are you authorized? I know you can't answer that. Are you authorized to give anybody a 100-year permit? We're all gonna be dead. And I hate to, you know, someone said that it was 4 generations, actually it's 5 generations before your children could come before DHEC to say anything about this. And by the way, a little sidetrack here, the Nuclear Regulatory Commission is doing the same kind of sidestepping and giving long permits, which are really environmental justice issue, because they are denying you the right to speak to these agencies directly. They're taking that, this is an attempt to take that away with these extremely long permits. So please do not give them a long permit. 10 years max. They must prove themselves trustworthy. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Greenlaw. Next, I'd like to call on Donnie Layard, who I believe is joining us online.
I decline to comment. I'm just listening and gain knowledge, and I'll be in touch with DHEC through online.
Thank you so much, Mr. Layard. I know your daughters quite well, so we're glad to have you with us tonight. Next, I'd like to call on Eben Stevenson. I believe is online as well. Yes, Mr.
My name is Eben Stevenson. That's EbenStevenson. Now, my thoughts on this is certainly Luckstone is not a publicly traded company, it's my understanding. This is a family-owned business. They're making all these promises that are going to go down 100 years, and that just sticks out to me as crazy, like other people have said. But I won't repeat that. The other problem I have is I have looked at the gold mine that's on Highway 34 also and toured it when it was in operation. They also were going to reclaim this, and it was going to be a beautiful lake with houses built around it. All right. Geologists took us on the tour and said it will fill up with water, be a beautiful lake. Right now, it's got pine trees on it, chain link fence around it, and another company, Kennecott, has bought it. And it's locked up and nobody can get in it. Other examples of what's going on and what's being policed in South Carolina is we got Lee County and Bishopville that's taking garbage from New York City. We've got Barnwell that's taking atomic waste. And I don't know who's policing it or who's supposed to be policing it, but evidently somebody's not. The other problem I've got is economically. The I-77 corridor from Columbia to Charlotte is going to, in the next 20 years, is going to be huge. And that land is going to be very, very valuable and will be very valuable for other types of industry to come in there without all these environmental issues. And economically, I would think that most of this money is, I think Luckstone is a Virginia-based company, is South Carolina and Fairfield County. Are we getting any monetary gain from this mine at all, except having the environmental problems? And that's all I have to say, but thank you so much for hearing me. Thank you.
Bravo.
Thank you, Mr. Stevenson. I apologize for butchering your name.
Yes.
Next, we have Priscilla Preston online, I believe, who would like to make a comment.
Yes, thank you. My name is Priscilla Preston, Priscilla, Preston, Preston. And I'd like to talk about the water problems associated with this quarry. Not only the water that could be lost, the groundwater, but also the possible violations of the state water quality standards, which are intended to maintain and improve all surface waters to a level to provide for the survival of indigenous aquatic communities, as well as providing recreation in and on the water. And it sounds like recreation in general is not going to be as pleasant as it is now if this quarry is built there. It could have significant impacts for 100 years on surface water. It's very close to the public water well that supplies most of the water for the town of Ridgway, and it's marked for future use. The proposed project areas marked for future use are closer than the mandated public well protection zone distance of 2,180 feet. So for all of those reasons and for all of the other reasons stated tonight, I ask that DHEC deny the permit.
Thank you, Ms. Preston. Christy, do we have anyone there with you at the school who has indicated they would like to make a comment?
Hello, my name's Ben Thompson, BenThomPson. I'm with Luck Companies. Thank you all for coming this evening and voicing your perspectives, your questions, your thoughts on the project. I did hear a couple of things that I just wanted to make note of on record, which may benefit some of the orientation on this project. One was from Skelp, who was talking about a citizen panel board. That is not something that is unusual to us. We do that at many sites. Glad to go on record here for inclusion if DHEC would like to as a condition in our application. Another thing that I heard was South Carolina Rural Water, not sure authority association, but there was a comment about our participation, our part in the Lake Wateree watershed conversation, and ultimately maybe some regulations associated with that. We would be more than happy to partner on that, as well as the Catawba River Keepers. It's somewhat in keeping with our environmental ethic, so we work very heavily with the James River Association, the Chess Bay Foundation. All of that goes hand in hand with who we are, our environmental ethic. I shared last time our credentialed in Virginia as environmental excellence, which is the highest tier for an industry to partake in an award type manner. And so we hold that level of expectation upon ourselves. You all should also hold us to that level of expectation. There was a comment from the young lady who actually I don't see right now, but worried about light escape bleeding onto other properties. Typically, we do not operate at night. That said, any lighting on our site will be downward facing and directional to ensure no escape onto adjoining properties. Another comment that came up several times was setbacks to water wetland areas. We'll be more than happy to go back and explore that and grow that as much as possible within our site. So right now, I think the general expectation is 50 feet. If we can go greater, 100 feet, 150 feet, we will do so within our application. The transparency comment, dust monitoring, future and ongoing water quality, and quantity, all of that, and monitor wells, dust regulations, all of those things are captured in the regulatory environment. However, they all are also open book. So that is public information. Anything we capture is there for public consumption as desired. We can also include all those conversations in an ongoing fashion in a citizens panel. I'll wrap up. I do want to say, though, please learn about our company. And we're more than happy to share in any conversation. Last time I gave out my phone number. Unfortunately, didn't get any calls. Would love to get those calls. We'll also be here afterwards. We are a really special company. And I know that sounds somewhat flip because I work for the company. But seriously, this is a group, and there is a reason why I work for this group. It's important that you all understand that, and also understand that we do want to be, in the truest sense of the word, a neighbor in the community. So, thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Thompson.
I think there's some who are maybe interested in that phone number, Donna, if we can give a chance for Mr. Thompson to share that. And maybe we can write it down over here as well.
Sure. Phone number is 804-784-6300. That'll get you to our front desk. Last time I mentioned that my name's Ben Thompson, so you can certainly ask for me. We have a lot of people working on this project from a lot of different competencies. And so if you call in and you say, I live in Fairfield County, I'm interested in the project, and my main interest is water, it may get routed to the water person, or it may get routed to me. Regardless, we will get you speaking with the right person that is the most knowledgeable in that area.
Thank you.
Jen, can you say that number one more time, please?
Sure can. 804-784-6300. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Thompson. It looks like I have called on everyone who wished to make a comment tonight. I will give a moment for anyone else who would like to make a comment to unmute their line or raise their hand.
And Donna, I think we have one more here.
Please just remember to state your name for the court reporter.
Okay, I'll be short. My name is Christy Coggins, Kristi Coggins. I'm a new resident of Ridgeway from Blythewood, and we're probably 3 miles from this site. I've not heard the word silicosis mentioned. Silicosis is an airborne carcinogenic that is directly related to progressive, incurable lung cancer, birth defects. There's 4 different areas that it affects our youth, my children that are having children, premature births, low birth weights, and obviously heart disease, all these things that we ingest the air every day. And last week, we noticed all the smoke that came from the Oregon fires. I traveled last Saturday to Denver and went to the Rocky Mountain National Forest, and it was covered with smoke. I know we're not talking about smoke, like we're talking about cut granite dust that is ultra fine and almost undetectable, maybe by the eye. I'm concerned, and I oppose this permit. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ms. Coggins. And thank you, Catherine. For those of you joining us virtually, you can see that Mr. Thompson's phone number is there on the screen if you did not get it earlier. It does look like we also had a Chris and Tina Cole or one of the other who raised their hand.
Hello, my name is Chris Cole. That's Chrisscole. My wife and I moved to Winsboro specifically for the solitude. And I would just kind of like to give you guys some bullet points as to how we feel about this. Let's make no mistake. People are asking, is the air quality going to be impacted? Is the water quality going to be impacted? Light pollution, noise pollution, road degradation, seismic impact? And the answer to all of those questions is a resounding yes. I certainly appreciate Mr. Thompson from Luckstone speaking with all of us, but I also understand that Mr. Thompson from Luckstone is working for the company that wants to come into our community, and they are driven by profit. They are not driven by the best interest of the community. They're not driven by maintaining the solitude of the community. And the idea of this in a community that we moved to enjoy life and enjoy stargazing disgusts me. I think we're better than this. I think our country is better than this. And I think we need to all adamantly say, no, not on our watch, not for 100 years, not for a single decade. Thank you for the opportunity to let me speak.
Thank you, Mr. Cole. Yeah. I do want to note that we do have several people who are raising their hand online, and I believe we also have some others there in person who would still like to make a comment. So we will continue on with those. Christy, you have someone there who would like to make a comment?
Ms. Donna, we have, I think this is the first of 2 hands up there. We'll put some additional.
Okay, I would just remind you to please state your name and spell it for the court reporter.
Name is Mo.
I'm sorry, I was doing my mic wrong. You're up, Mike.
All right. My wife and I have been a resident of Fairfield County since 1992, and we moved here after I finished my military obligation because of the, again, peace, solitude. We just love it here, and it's been our home for a long time, obviously. And I'm opposed to this. All right. As a physician, I'm aware of many of the problems that this type of company can potentially bring to this community. They're mining granite. Now, I'm definitely not a mining expert, obviously, but if you mine granite, how much heavy metals are going to be exposed to our soil, our water, like watery? What about some of the radioactive materials that are involved with granite mining? Okay, uranium, radium, polonium. So I'm opposed to this. I think our health is too important to risk anything with a company like this. All this particulate matter for the poor asthmatics, people with emphysema, cystic fibrosis, other lung diseases, I wouldn't trust it. That's all I have to say. Thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you, Mr. Zeno.
Could we have his name?
Sorry, it was Mike Zeno.
Zeno.
Z-E-N-O. And my apologies, I was trying to make sure he was unmuted and I accidentally muted for a second there right when he was speaking. So it's Mike Zeno, Z-E-N-O.
Okay. And I believe that you had indicated you had someone else there in person, Christy?
Yes, there is another.
My name is Harriet Brown, Harriet Brown. I live on Lake Wateree. As we found in Wateree Creek, what is supposed to happen doesn't always happen. And now we're dealing with a large sedimentation issue that we have to figure out how to take care of. I too am concerned about possibly increasing turbidity and or sedimentation in both the creek and in Dutchman Creek, both Stream and Dutchman Creek. My real question is, who will pay for problems if they happen in Dutchman Creek because of Luck Stone?
Thank you, Ms. Brown. I do want to go back to those who are virtually indicating that they would like to make a comment. We are going to get to those who have not had the opportunity to speak first. So I would call on an individual. The last 4 digits of the phone number is 5978. If the last 4 digits of your phone number are 5978, please unmute your line by pressing *6. Okay, we can come back to that number. We also had David Luz.
Hang on, Donna. I think
Hello?
they unmuted.
Hello?
Hi, who is this?
This is Dan Stevenson, DANSTEVENSON.
Thank
And
you
I
so
wanted
much.
to comment on some concerns I have about the habitats of the monarch butterflies who come to Fairfield County. They are a species that there's a lot of concern about right now, and the U.S. Fish and Wildlife have not made them endangered yet, but they're only one step below that, and they've made their effort here to be toward conservation. And they're saying that companies that are working toward conservation here might have to enter into a national conservation agreement to work with that. And the background on this is originally it was just individuals doing this, but now the federal government and some companies have gotten involved, and they want to make this a much bigger effort. And maybe and the University of Illinois is going to be involved, and then they want to set up some amateur conservationists to go around and check on all of these places. And I'm just wondering if anybody has contacted the about the fish and wildlife, even fish and wildlife, to see if a conservation agreement has been struck and what has to happen to make sure that these monarch butterflies who are losing ground because the habitats are not being adequately maintained and haven't been good or being looked at.
Thank you so much, Mr. Stevenson.
I think it needs to be looked at, and this is an issue that the monarchs are in Ohio right now. They migrate from Mexico over the northern part of the United States and Ohio now. It should be coming to Fairfield County in the very near future. So it's concerned about how they are going to be able to stand up in Fairfield and whether we will be doing the conservation efforts, and also where the habitats are concerned, are they going to be adequate where poisons and other chemicals could harm them.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for your comments, Mr. Stevenson. We have recorded those. And I would like for Catherine to put up the slide, please, with the phone numbers. Certainly, Mr. Stevenson, that will be addressed in the response summary. But if you would like to speak to someone directly about that after tonight, we encourage you to give us a call, and we'll be glad to talk with you more in length about that. So we want to keep moving along, make sure we get to everybody. Christy, did you have another person there who indicated they would like to comment?
Yes, Donna, we have a gentleman coming up now.
Okay, thank you so much.
How y'all doing this evening? My name is Willie Qualls, and I live right there on Grace Lane, right near where they just bought that property. When I first moved up there,
So I was gonna say, can you get your name?
Willie Qualls, that's WILLIE QUALLS.
Thank you, Mr. Qualls.
I live right there on Grace Lane beside the new site. When I moved up there, every neighbor, excuse me, come up there and talk to me. I ain't heard nothing from this new, whatever they doing over there, I have no clue. But the concerns I have, I came home today, I seen squirrel, deer, I got a pond, 2 whales, turkeys. I think they gonna send snakes over there to me and take away my animals. That's all I had to say.
Thank you, Mr. Qualls. I would like to reiterate, we still do have some people who are raising their hand online. If you're raising your hand, we are noting down your name and we'll call on you if you just be patient with us. We appreciate that, and we'll go straight on to David Lewis. Mr. Lewis, if you are still with us virtually, we will be glad to hear from you now.
Yes, ma'am. My name is David Lewis, DAVID LEWIS. I live off of Barber Road next to the Lows, the Siebels, and I got Miss Virginia in front of me. My concern is with all my neighbors about luck. But my bigger concern is with DHEC, with the mission statement that DHEC states that they're to improve the quality of life of all South Carolinians by protecting and promoting the health of the public and the environment. It's utterly disgusting that it's came this far. If you're for us, protecting us, that you would take it this far. Why? You should have denied it a long time ago. I oppose luck coming here, but the bigger problem is why has it got this far? I'd like some answers, but no, it probably won't be, but we'll find out. Thanks.
Good question.
Thank you so much. I would ask you please to remain muted as we get through all the commenters. We'll remind you that Our permit writers, Jeremy and Lance, are available to talk with you after tonight if you would like. Their phone numbers are on the screen now. You can reach Jeremy at 803-898-7609, and Lance can be reached at area code 803-898-7220. We certainly do encourage you, if you have questions that you would like to discuss with someone, to please give us a call. And we also have a recording of the meeting that was held a couple of weeks ago, I believe, where there was question and answer period where some of those questions were answered. So a recording of that meeting is also posted on our website for anyone that would like to go back and listen to it. We certainly appreciated hearing all of the comments and questions then as much as we do tonight. So it looks like we also have Susan Randall. Ms. Randall, I believe you had spoke earlier, but would you like to make an additional comment now?
Yes, I'm really in favor of what Representative McKinley said. Let's go back to 10-year. Why do we need 100-year? Let's see what they can do in 10 years. And if they're no good, throw them out and get our land back. That's my comment.
Thank you so much, Ms. Randall. With that, I believe that we have called on everyone who wished to make a comment during this public hearing. Christy, do we have anyone else in person there who will raise their hand now if you'd like to make a comment?
I believe Ms. Greenlaw had a few seconds left and would like to add a final comment or two, Donna.
Okay, thank you. I've spelled my name before, so I'm not going to repeat that. I appreciate that you have someone from mining and from air quality tonight. Where's the water person? Okay, we really need to speak to the person who worked on the water mitigation plan, which I don't really see much of a plan. There doesn't seem to be reclamation of wetlands. And actually, wetlands usually cannot be reclaimed. Once they're gone, they're gone. The intermittent wetlands also don't seem to appear to be of concern to DHEC or to LUC. The ecosystem loss from losing these, okay, that can't be reclaimed. They do, and I think I mentioned this in my comments before, there's what is called ecosystem services. If you paid for a company to purify your water, well, that has a cost. But wetlands do it for us for free. It's a service God provides to us, and it's being ruined, and they're going to give us a pond that will not do the work that the wetlands will do. And so when I said something earlier about the, 10 years, let them prove themselves, that was kind of tongue in cheek. I oppose this mine totally. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Greenlaw, for those additional comments.
I think we got one more, Donna.
Okay. It's great to have so many of you with us and who are coming up to comment, so thank you. Please remember to state your name and spell it for the court reporter.
My name is Robert White, RobertWhite. I'm a reporter with the Country Chronicle. And I just wanted to follow up on something that happened at the last meeting. Joe Kuhn, who is a project manager with DHEC's Division of Mining and Solid Waste Management, said, we have obviously received very new information in regards to the groundwater model that we are evaluating. The meeting was held on the 22nd. The 19th is when the report was issued from SME, or from Luckstone, that was produced by SME. And he goes on to say, we're very interested in reaching out to the town of Ridgeway to better understand the operations of that well and to better understanding the pumping timeframes. And this all has to go to water quantity. In looking over the preparation of tonight's meeting, said we talk about the air permit, but as said, the item that obviously DHEC was not prepared to speak on in the last meeting is omitted, is the water quantity. And I would like to know, has that been resolved, and how is the process that it's been resolved? Obviously, SME works for Luckstone, and they prepared all of these intricate reports, and they go on. If you haven't looked at them, they go on and on and on. As DHEC, do they do an equal amount of due diligence vetting this information? As said, and since we weren't presented this information at the last meeting, has it been vetted now? What is the process of vetting it? And do we have our own specialist, as the people have their own specialists, just like Luckstone has SME as their specialist? So I just want to know, as said, if the information that was not available has been followed up on, and the process by which it was followed up on. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. White.
The truth comes out.
We appreciate your comments or your attendance at the meeting and at the hearing. I will just reiterate that this public hearing is a formal proceeding, and therefore questions are not answered during the public hearing, but we will certainly be more than happy to speak with you about the questions that you have raised tomorrow. And I have your name down, and we'll be glad to have somebody back in touch with you if you like, or you can contact Joe after tonight. So I think we have maybe one more raised hand virtually. And Christy, if you don't have anyone else there who is indicating they would like to speak, I think after we hear from this last virtual person, we will move forward with having closing comments. So I believe virtually someone with the telephone number ending in 9944 has indicated they would like to make a comment. You'll just press *6 on your phone.
Looks like they're unmuted, Donna.
Okay, again, the person with the phone number ending in 9944, you can make your comment now. Okay, we're going to pass through. And I had one more person. Mr. Lyles, I know that you spoke earlier. Did you want to speak again briefly?
Yeah, yes. John Lyles, Lyles. I spoke earlier about groundwater, and I did want to make one more point about the groundwater. The hydrological study, the limited hydrological study that came out in March, followed up by the report called the Groundwater Modeling Study on July 19th, just before the last meeting. I've really gone through both of those reports quite a few times now, trying to see what's changed. And it looks to me like the same underlying assumptions from a company called THG, I think, THG Geophysics. They did the original testing and measurements using techniques geophysical to try to figure out where the water would be moving in the bedrock. And they came up with some conclusions. Well, it looks like this last report was sort of a regurgitation of the same information, but with an emphasis on, oh, we aligned the lineaments and the, what do you call them, diabase dikes with the Ridgeway well, and now we can say that the Ridgeway well won't be affected in 40 years. It might drop 10 feet. But I guess my real question is, why is this information so evasive in this particular proposal, whereas in Chester there was a lot of pumping studies and there was a real model created, and in this particular groundwater not only modeling report, but the original limited report, there really isn't a model. It's sort of based on the other counties' measurements. And it looks to me like there is a real lack of data here, basic data, to get such conclusions that the water's not going to affect the other wells like Mr. Qualls and the other ones that we talked about. But I do believe that needs to be a very important thing that DHEC looks at now, because we're seeing, we're seeing evidence that a lot of people are concerned about the water. So that's all I have to say. And thanks everybody for putting up with us and all the people that showed up.
Thank you so much, Mr. Lyles. It has certainly been a good turnout, and we do appreciate everyone's attendance, both in person and online. So on behalf of DHEC, I would like to thank everyone for joining us tonight and giving us your comments. Please note once again that well, that was one of the first times that I did that. I was just chatting away and I was on mute, so I apologize. But I was just going to echo Mr. Lyles that we really do appreciate everyone joining us tonight and giving us your comments. And on behalf of DHEC, I would like to thank everyone for joining us tonight and giving your comments. Please note once again that written comments may be submitted by mail or email to DHEC through August 20th, 2021. All written comments received on or before this date will be considered in DHEC's decision-making processes. It is important to note that DHEC's final decisions on the mine operating permit application and the draft air permit are two separate decisions. Each decision will be made after the public comment period ends as follows. For the draft air permit, DHEC's Bureau of Air Quality will review and consider all comments received and may request additional information from the applicant if necessary. A decision will then be made to approve, disapprove, or modify the draft permit. For the mine operating permit application, DHEC's Bureau of Land and Waste Management will review and consider all comments received and may request additional information from the applicant if necessary. A decision will then be made to approve or deny a mine operating permit. Once final permit decisions are made, DHEC will provide a summary response to all comments received. The permit decisions and summary of responses to all comments received will be posted on our webpage and provided to everyone on our mailing list. You have the right to request a final review of any permit decision made by DHEC. The final review request must be submitted in writing to DHEC's Clerk of the Board, along with a filing fee in the amount of $100 within 15 days after notice of DHEC's permit decision has been mailed. In consideration of this requirement, you will receive notification of DHEC's permit decision by standard U.S. mail or by email. If you wish to be notified of DHEC's decision by certified mail instead, please make your request in writing no later than August 20th, 2021. On behalf of DHEC, I would again like to thank you for your attendance and comments this evening. As the state's public health agency, DHEC encourages you to help us win the fight against COVID-19 by getting a safe, effective, and free vaccine. For information on COVID-19 and finding a vaccine location near you, call 1-866-365-8110 or visit our website at scdhec.gov/vaxfacts, and that's VAXFACTS. The time is now 8:29 p.m. and this hearing is officially adjourned. You may disconnect at this time. Good night.